Hello and thank you all for watching. This is Manny Sunny Sun for an astrological report. We begin with Mars in its warpath. We begin this astrological report for September 20th, Sunday. Aspects of Mars incite the action of competition, initiative of life force, and they inspire chivalry and fear and courage to face it. Mars has always been called the malefic in that sense, but then the inferiority of his desires ablaze. It shrinks, it dies up, and cannibalizes the thought. There is nothing small in him. Master battlefields, it animates the many conflicts between the thinker and the thought. In the coming weeks, Mars is causing mayhem in our minds and in our societies who do not need it. This celestial geometry or an aspect heats this white star. The aggressive combinations of Mars are never good news, especially in a world already in torment by personal and collective conflicts. Although it seems quite difficult to do better, we should expect the inflammations and rashes to sudden quarrels, increased competition and rivalries, and upsurge of criminal assault and police misconduct. To be hardening of exercise of power, whether in the public or private spheres. The countries that were in violence are already in the law that is obvious in the front line. Understand there is a whole of the collective that is affected by this. The internal war is the fruit of all external conflicts, and the intelligence still allows some more to express. The best side of the stars, the sense of action, enterprise, brave, chivalry, rendered also to the weakest, the service. So, the schedule for endowed with this Martian disturbance that installs for these couple of days. Mars at the very end of Leo, it's in the 28th degree of Leo, makes a square off to Saturn in Sagittarius from mid-September to October, approximately 10 to October 11th. Mars in Virgo opposite Neptune in Pisces from September 25th to October, around the 19th or 20th of October. Mars conjoins with Jupiter in Virgo, 28th to 29th of September to early November. So from September 28th to October 10th, Mars will look very stretched on both with Saturn and Jupiter and Neptune. The small detour here through Mercury retrograde, Mercury on September 17th to October 9th. Throughout the most disturbed period in Mars. So the star represents the ability to think, and this is troubled by the period of demotion that implies potential and bad choices. So mental concerns are met and some problems are raised by Mars. We will discuss this. Its action, impulsivity, aggressiveness, conflicts are always absorbed in this view. If the opposition of Uranus and Mercury until September 25th promotes intuition, sagacity, it squares off to Pluto until October 2nd and underlies cunning, cynicism, and the preference for personal interest. Mars square off to Saturn here. This aspect indicates that of desire and action with Mars and collides with the Saturn, the strict father, the one that punishes obstacles, limitations, and time. So the adverse circumstances and blocked action. The capability causes resentment, frustration, and bad moods. Cold, anger, hardening, and animosity. The confrontations with violence, brutality is common, and there is sometimes a danger to physical integrity, risk of accidents. One should be more careful than usual. Attention to some easy insensitivity may develop, too often fleeting, but must meet adversity with courage. Positive Mars and patience with positive Saturn. The whole is to avoid banging his head against the wall, to breathe, and to go against in good heart. So the solutions involve the waver between positive Saturn and service positive Mars. In all problems and cases concerning Mars, to becoming a servant in only one way, to diffuse his warlike kind. So note, while if circumstances are hardening, strength, courage, resilience, resistance and ability to endure any test are not outdone. So it gives a weekend action by emotion and fear and negativity, empathy, influenced by the environment, danger of illusions, its strength and ability to identify with figures of heroic identity, to be bold rather than just be brave. Depending on the circumstances here, see Mars square the Saturn. Possible violent reactions, taste, and the influence and domination. Better beware of gatherings where opportunities overflow and the negative influence of collective opinions move. So Neptune represents this aspect of propaganda. It is harmful to all those in positions to be influenced by ideologies, whether they be political, religious. They're all engaged in violent actions, nonetheless. For example, the budding of the jihadist, all that Mars and square Saturn represents, it grows in this direction. We note, however, at the heart of this aspect of heroism germs the real capacity to excel. Here, the origin of this problem is that of separation. Two, which creates the feeling of being threatened by the world so that you can be assaulted in return. It is essential to let the confidence hatch, which happens naturally by the realization that one is not separate from the world. From more inwardly awake, this aspect offers an opportunity to reduce the collective violence by addressing this problem exactly within ourselves. Conjunct with Jupiter Mars, we know that Jupiter, of course, magnifies everything it touches. Here, Mars can pay the price for better or for worse. The sense of action and adventure, bravery, and fighting against injustice must be increased and can result in disputes, rashness, competition, and rivalry, violence, risk-taking, and especially anger. The risk of strokes, wounds, cuts, burns, accidents are multiplied, driven by anger against the injustice and judgment. The subjective insight of this is good versus evil. The certainty of being right is reinforced sometimes by leading regrettable actions. Mars should therefore be channeled, but it's not easy, especially as a square off to Saturn here is hardening of the self and circumstances. The opposition to Neptune here, various fears, illusions of oneself, aggression to the world, who are all part of the assets. So, the solution here is essential to go through this non-violence. This is not an opinion or ideology that one seeks to respect, but an understanding that applies first and foremost to himself. Mars serves here to win Jupiter. So the requirement of this action is thus channeled by the sense of justice and awakening of the spirit of chivalry. The best expression of Mars, which is expansion of thought, Jupiter in the direction of good. So, further the notions of righteousness and non-violence here are to grow. Direct, intuitive, and spontaneous, free from fear and desire of secret motives. Right of action is closely linked with non-violence, which involves, first of all, not to fight against yourself, that is, desire not to judge, not to compare or to conform to an ideal, to observe everything without any confrontations. So thank you all for watching. I will post a video down below of Mars square Saturn for you. Thank you all for watching. Have a great end of September.